Okay, folks, how you guys doing? My name is Mark. This is Mark's, well, live streams, I guess. This is politics and live stream, politics and art stream, I guess, is what the name of the stream is, I guess. How you guys doing? Has been about a week or so since our last stream, and lots of stuff is happening out there in the world. So here's where we left off last time with this sort of plague demon looking dude. And I think we're pretty much almost done with this guy. I think I want to do a little bit more around this edge down here, just to kind of, you know, finish that a little bit. And then maybe we'll put some like symbols around it or something. And then I think I'll turn this into a print. And we can, you know, then I'll just like give it away or something, or sell it. Right. In fact, I think what I'll do is I'll put like a coupon so that anyone who watches my live streams can get it for free. You know, that would be kind of cool. You know, maybe like the first 20 people or something. I don't know. We'll see. We'll figure it out. So, let me just make sure that I'm actually streaming. Should be streaming here. Let me see here if I can hear stuff.
Anyone?
Okay, looks like I can hear myself, so we're good. I'm always paranoid of YouTube and their, you know, audio problems and stuff like that. Alright, so let's get right into it. So, why is today's stream called Is America in a Civil War? Well, the big thing I want to talk about is the protests in Kenosha and the shooting that occurred there over the last couple of days. Right. So, those of you guys who don't know, if you haven't been following this story, basically what happened is this. There was a guy who was shot in the back named Jacob Black. So this is another example of an unarmed black person being shot by police. Jacob Black survived, so he's not dead. Fortunately, he does appear to be paralyzed from the waist down. So, which is bad news. Okay. So anyway, that started another round of protests, because it seems like every time, you know, stuff starts to calm down a little bit, the police murder somebody else or paralyze somebody else or something like that. And then, you know, the protests start up all over again, right? Which is happening here. So basically there's a city in Wisconsin called Kenosha, which doesn't really seem to be a very large city. And there were, you know, some protests going on there that kind of got a little out of hand because, you know, people were pissed off, right? I think that's where the guy lived, Jacob Black. I could be wrong about that, but I think he lived in Kenosha, right? And anyway, so what happened was this kid, 17-year-old kid, named, what was his name here? Kyle Rittenhouse, decides that he's going to go and stand and fight against the evil commie Black Lives Matter people. So let's see a picture of Kyle Rittenhouse here. Let me just go ahead and pull this up. And let's turn on my left monitor. That's Kyle Rittenhouse. 17-year-old kid posing with a rifle, you know, which he is too young to own and should not have. Okay, so apparently this kid is really into law enforcement. He's a supporter of Blue Lives Matter. Apparently he's also a Trump supporter, and we know that because we have a picture of him at a Trump rally. Let me pull that up here. Where is it? Somewhere I got a link to where this kid is at a Trump rally. I mean, I guess that doesn't really matter, but definitely a Trump rally. You know, here it is. Here's my link that I got here. So Kenosha shooting suspect was in the front row of a Trump rally in January. So here he goes, Trump rally. That's him, right? So we know, and then his Facebook page and stuff like that had pictures of him with guns, and apparently he was part of this like junior police sort of club kind of thing. You know, I couldn't, I don't have it written down, but it was some kind of like, some kind of thing where they're like, it's like a club for like young kids who want to be cops or whatnot, right? So yeah, we can see where his politics lies. He was a conservative, young conservative kid, Blue Lives Matter kind of kid, right? Who was also affiliated with this militia in, let's see, I have a link to that too, right? So there was this militia that was, wait, did it save? Here it goes. Kenosha militia Facebook event, right? So basically what happened was that there was this militia posting on Facebook about how they were going to go to this town, Kenosha, and defend it from Black Lives Matter. Right, and this kid, Kyle Rittenhouse, was supposedly involved with these guys. So apparently they're this militia group on Facebook was reported many times because they were basically espousing very violent rhetoric, saying people should bring weapons and get ready for a fight, and that they were going to go down and, basically shoot, the freaking commies and shit from Black Lives Matter. People reported it, and, Facebook, of course, kept it up because Facebook makes money, right, from conservatives. There's this sort of, like, narrative going around conservative circles, right, that, that they're always being censored, and that groups like Facebook and Reddit and Twitter and all that are always censoring them, and they're anti-conservative and blah, 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 right? When in real life, it's kind of the opposite. Facebook makes a lot of money from conservatives, right? Facebook is the reason why QAnon is so, like, popular nowadays, and I'm thinking of actually making a show on QAnon itself, actually. Here, let me move my little monitor thingy over here so that we can kind of see what's going on. Joe Briggs Jr., physical removal now. Yeah, Joe, you can leave my stream. Seriously, that shit isn't funny. In fact, yeah, don't watch this stream, Joe, because I'm going to be saying lots of things that'll piss you off, because I know the truth often makes conservatives angry. So please take that physical removal shit and shove it where the sun don't shine. Thank you very much. Right? I don't give a fuck. Okay? I'm not gonna sit here and fight with people. So, yeah. I think what I'm gonna do here. Can I just, like, ban this guy? I don't know. Anyway, Joe, don't start any trouble, please. Okay? Because I don't want to have to, like, kick you out. All right. I mean, you're probably the only guy watching right now, so whatever. But still, this is just be forewarned, Joe. This is my politics are mostly progressive, so I'm probably going to say things you're not going to like, but everything I say is backed up by facts. So if you don't like it, sorry, the facts do not, care about your feelings there. So anyway, let's move on. Moving on, so, yeah, where was I? Where was I here? Oh, yeah, so, Kenosha shooting suspect, right. So, what happened? Exactly. Well, I would show you the videos, but they're graphic. And YouTube would just kill my stream in a nanosecond if I started showing the videos. But what I did is I put links to the bottom of the, so there are links in the description here where you can find all of the videos on Twitter and Reddit and stuff like that. So you can see what happened. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to describe what happened in these videos. Right. Now, there are many people saying lots of different things, you know, that the guy that got shot and stuff like that was talking shit, blah, 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 whatever. You know, I don't really see how any of that's relevant. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick to the actual videos and what we have on film. Because, you know, there's no denying that those things happened. So, what happened? Well, the first video, if you scroll down into the bottom of my video description, the first video shows this kid Rittenhouse at this like boarded up gas station, or is it a car? I think it's a car dealership actually. And the idea was that he came across. Now remember, this kid is 17 years old, right? 17 years old. He's not supposed to have a gun. It is not legal for 17-year-old kids to have guns. Okay. He's not from Kenosha. He actually took this gun illegally across state lines, right, to actually go to this place in order to fucking, you know, defend other people's property that doesn't belong to him against the big evil commie Black Lives Matter people. All right. That's what he went. So this kid had no fucking business being there. Just, that's what that means, okay? None at all. And remember, 17 years old, right? He's also not a cop, okay? So it is not legal for random citizens to just go out there and be vigilantes. That's illegal. You're not allowed to just go out and shoot somebody, right? If you're like, you know, like trying to pretend to be the Punisher or like some shit like that, right? You're not allowed to do that. We can get into why, you know, but suffice to say that's also illegal. Okay, even if you do see somebody breaking the law, right? If you know, if you see, you know, if you're out there and you see somebody vandalizing something, you're not allowed to just shoot them in the head and kill them. Okay, doesn't fucking matter if they're vandalizing something, right? If you see somebody breaking into a car or smashing the car or some shit like that, you're not allowed to just shoot them. All right. You know, are you a police officer? No, you're not allowed to shoot. You're not allowed to detain people, right? If you try to detain somebody and they tell you to fuck off, you're not allowed to use force. All right. That's how the law is, okay? You can use lethal force when the person that you're using it against is either directly threatening you or somebody else. So you see somebody getting raped, you see somebody getting their ass kicked, you see somebody like potentially going to get murdered, you're allowed to use lethal force. That's how it works, okay? You see somebody stealing something, you know, shoplifting, you know, spray painting a wall, right, smashing a window, you're not allowed to use lethal force in that instance. What are you supposed to do in that instance? You're supposed to call the police. That's what you're supposed to fucking do, all right? So this kid, what happened was that he was at a car dealership, right? And supposedly they overheard people from BLM saying that they were going to go to this car dealership and burn it down. Okay, supposedly, right? I don't know, there might be a video of that or something, I don't know. I couldn't find any fucking video, right? So he goes to this car dealership to defend it, you know, from getting burned down for whatever reason. And he shoots someone and kills them. Shoots a guy in the head. Okay, that's what the first video is. So if you scroll down, right, in the link in the description of my video here, right, basically he shoots a guy in the head, right, and as he's walking away, he's on the phone, and you can hear him say on the phone, "I just killed somebody." Okay, so that's what happened. That's how this began. 17-year-old kid who's not supposed to be there, who's not allowed to have a gun, shoots a guy in the head, right? As now, there's a second video down below, right? As he's walking away, people start following him because he just fucking killed somebody. All right, people start following him. Okay, and you know, when you just murder someone, when you just kill someone, right, that kind of pisses people off a little bit. So they were trying to make sure that he wouldn't get away, you know. And he had a gun. How are they supposed to know that he wasn't going to kill somebody else? So, you know, and you can hear them saying, you know, fuck you and all this other shit, right? And people are like, yeah, he just killed somebody, he just killed somebody. Somebody hits him. One guy tries to, like, knock the gun out of his hand, a guy with a skateboard, right, knocks him over, okay? And Rittenhouse shoots him in the chest, kills him, all right? Another guy gets shot in the arm, and the guy who got shot in the arm actually had a gun. But remember, Rittenhouse just shot somebody in the head. He just killed someone. This dude with a gun was trying to stop him from getting away. Now, whether you think that's smart or not, personally, I don't think it's a very smart thing to do, to try to pull your gun on a guy who's got a gun pointed at you. That's a dumbass idea. So Rittenhouse shoots him in the arm, right? And I think that guy is most likely going to lose his arm. I haven't heard any update on that. Right. So that was dumb, but, you know, remember, Rittenhouse just killed someone. Okay, so it's like, you know, now if you support him, if you support this Rittenhouse guy for killing somebody, right, for threatening to burn down a car dealership, then you should support this other guy who attempted to prevent him from getting away. Okay, because at this point, Rittenhouse is a criminal. All right, he's a criminal. At this point, he just fucking killed somebody. Okay, so let's not lose sight of what's actually happening here. Okay, so because that's the thing. As soon as all this shit happened, all the fucking like right-wingers and like fucking boogaloo assholes and you know, people who like, you know, want to start a fucking race war in this country and all this other shit immediately got up and said, yeah, he was defending himself. Well, you know, it's like someone who just robbed a bank shooting a guy and saying, yeah, it was self-defense. Okay. Why is it fucking different in this case? All right. He's not supposed to be there. He's too young to own a gun legally. How did he even fucking get that gun? He's 17. He couldn't have bought it. Somebody bought it for him. Did he steal it from somebody? Did somebody give him a gun illegally? You know, hey, 1911, how you doing? See, you know all about this shit, man. See, so you guys in the chat, 1911 Greater Than All actually works at a gun store. He sells guns for a living. Okay, so can a 17-year-old kid buy a gun like that? I mean, I don't know. Maybe the law is different in whatever state he's from, right? I mean, I thought that, you know, you had to be 18 to own a fucking rifle, right? Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. So I thought you had to be 18 and you had to actually own the rifle legitimately in order to bring a rifle across state lines. Is that correct? I thought it was. So why is a 17-year-old kid bringing it across state lines? Why does he even fucking have it in the first place? You know, where are his parents? How come he's not being, like, supervised here? You know, I know that you can bring your kid to a gun range and you can practice shooting with him if he's, like, supervised and shit like that. I know you can do that because I did that as a child, okay? I mean, Dad was a cop. He always had guns. We would go fucking fire them, you know, occasionally. So, yeah, you know, I know how to fire a gun. I mean, I haven't done it in years, right? But I never, like, had my own fucking rifle and shit when I was a teenager. You know, because I was raised to understand that guns are not toys. All right, that's one thing that my dad drilled into my head. You know, repeatedly, guns are not toys. Do not play with this. Right? Do not play with this gun. Guns are not toys. Right? I never in a million years would have seen me with a picture holding a fucking rifle like it was a fucking, you know, super soaker and shit in the middle of the woods. The fuck is he doing with it out there? What is he hunting? Shooting deer, crap like that, you know? He's shooting at fucking tin cans or whatever, you know? Training for the day that the fucking evil Democrats, like, you know, start Helter fucking Skelter, right? Is that what it is? So that he can go out and fucking, like, shoot Democrats, so then Jesus can come back and, like, make abortion fucking illegal? Is that what he's trying to do? Like, waiting for the end of the fucking world? I don't understand these people. So anyway... You know, anyway, getting back, I'm getting a little sidetracked here, right? So yeah, this is what actually happens in the video. Okay, so he just kills a guy. Another dude tries to stop him with a skateboard, kills that dude. Somebody throws a bag at him that had a bottle of water in it, which hits him in the head, and he falls over. He turns around in the middle of the street. These are in those videos down below, by the way, so you guys want to see them, right? And he turns around and fucking shoots into the crowd, right? Kills another guy. So far, 2 people that we know of, right? are dead. Okay. And then in that same video, what happens is that he runs over to the police with his hands up, rifle still around his neck, right? Walking over to turn himself into the cops, because he knows, like, fucking, okay, I just shot a couple of guys, right? So it's like, alright, tries to turn himself in, cops drive right past him. Don't even, like, stop him, don't do shit. So what does he do? Does he go turn himself in at the police? No, he goes home. He goes home, right? Drives back to fucking, you know, Illinois or wherever the fuck he was from. Drives back over state lines, goes home, and then turns himself in later, right? Gets arrested later. So basically, you know, probably, I think he turned himself in. He probably correctly summarized, oh, I should probably get ahead of this and try to craft my defense, you know, because people are going to find out who I am. And then, you know, all that other shit. So that's what fucking happened. Okay, this is the video. This is what the videos show, all right? Now, here's what we're hearing from the right wing. It was self-defense. These people attacked him. Blah, 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 blah. All right. He wasn't supposed to fucking be there. See, that all of that shit gets thrown out the window because he's not supposed to be there. Right? He's not supposed to have a gun. He's 17 years old. He doesn't fucking legally have the right to own that weapon. Right? Right. He's not a police officer. So he shouldn't have been out there trying to do any of this shit in the first place because he's not a cop. Right? That's what people are not fucking understanding. You know, that's what you guys are not understanding. Somebody attacked him. Yeah, he's not supposed to fucking be there. All right? You know, that's his story. His story is that, oh, he was attacked, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, well, you know, maybe, you know, or maybe he went there, right, with the intention of fucking shooting somebody. I mean, he did go across state lines with his illegally fucking obtained firearm, right? He went there on purpose to confront Black Lives Matter, right? Did he own the car dealership that they were burning down? No, it wasn't his. Okay, so that's not, you know, that justification goes right out the fucking window, all right? Because you often see people will post stuff like, for example, during the, way back in the day, during the Rodney King riots in Los Angeles, there was, you know, video, and they showed in Koreatown, right? All the Korean liquor store owners and stuff like that, and like jewelry store owners and all that. They were out there on top of their roofs with guns, right? And I remember this even way back then. You know, this is like 20, almost 30 years ago. The same fucking narrative existed, even way the hell back then, right? So you guys think this shit is new. This is not new, all right? This is like, it's more, you know what it is? It's a bigger movement than it used to be. Okay, but, you know, this is not the first time riots have ever happened in the fucking country. This is not the first time we've had civil unrest, all right? Do you guys remember Rodney King? You know, let me refresh everybody's memory about Rodney King, all right? Rodney King was a guy that got pulled over for speeding, right? And the cops beat the living shit out of him to the point where he was put into the hospital and he barely managed to fucking survive. They basically beat him within an inch of his life. Okay. The thing is, this is probably the first time that I can remember where there was actual video of it. Somebody got, you know, and you remember back in 1992 or 93, whenever the fuck that happened, they didn't have cell phone cameras. Okay. It was all big, huge ass video cameras where you had to put a VHS tape in it and all that other shit, or a, you know, Super 8, you know, high definition 8 tape. You know what I mean? Right. So it was all like analog shit. Somebody just happened to have a camera and they videotaped it. And it was like basically 6 cops repeatedly beating the living crap out of this guy for like half an hour straight. Right. See, today, you know, when you see the police, they, you know, like, for example, what happened to, you know, let's say George Floyd, you know, the video of George Floyd, you know, 6 cops tackle him, they stand on him, shit like that. Right, the guy's got his knee on his neck, whatever. They didn't do that. They just, you know, they didn't get him in any kind of complicated hold that slowly suffocated him to death or anything like that. They basically just laid waste to this man for like literally 20 minutes with nightsticks, beating him until he almost fucking died, right? That caused riots back in Los Angeles, back in the day, right? And people said the same shit back then that they're saying today. Oh, these people are destroying their own neighborhoods. Oh, they're communists, right? They're just like, they don't really care about Rodney King. They're just there to loot, you know. Oh, it wasn't about civil rights. It was about, you know, it was about LA needs free VCRs, right? I remember this shit well. You know, I was in high school when that happened. You know, fucking lots of jokes about this kind of thing. You know, the internet really wasn't a thing back then. And I can only really imagine, you know, today, right, if that were to happen today. I mean, we're seeing what would have happened, right? And sure enough, just like it is today, people took sides. People took sides. Oh, wow, the cops they had to stop him from moving. He was dangerous. He was on PCP. You know, blah, 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 shit like that. It's like, right. You know, it's the thing. Here's why. This is you know, if you're wondering why BLM is a thing, right? Why Black Lives Matter exists, it's because of shit like this. Okay, it's because this kind of thing has been happening for decades and decades and decades, over and over and over, and it never ends. It never ends. And if you're, you know, a black person in this country, you live in fear of the cops. You should live in fear of the cops, right? Because they'll fucking kill you. They'll kill you for things that a white person gets away with. All right? And this is like an example right here. An example right here. White kid just shot 2 fucking people, you know, 3 people, killed 2 of them, right? Shot a guy in the fucking head, walks up to the cops with a gun hanging around his neck. Cops don't even stop him. Just drive on by. What do you think would have happened if a black guy did that? Right? It's in that second video down below. In fact, I'll post another one after this is done to the bottom. I'll post another one that has all of the clips together so that you can see all of them. Right? What do you think would happen if a black guy walked up to big cops like that with his hands up? Right? With his hands up, you know, hands are both up, but a gun, you know, with a gun. Do you think they would have ignored him? You know? Do you think I think at the very least, they probably would have stopped, told him to get on the ground, right? You know, they probably would have wondered, why is this guy walking up to us? Oh shit, he has a weapon, right? You know, that's what, you know, so don't tell me that's not what would have happened, because it would have, okay? Because white people get away with shit like that, right? Black people don't. You know, every time you talk about this kind of thing, people like to quote statistics and all this other shit. A guy on Reddit told me, like, oh, well, there were only 9 unarmed black people who were killed last year. Right? All the other ones were justified. Right? Which is bullshit. But first off, think about that. 9. Okay, even if that's true. 9 people killed who were unarmed. Right? Isn't that kind of a lot? 9 people? Kind of a lot. Were there 9 white people who were killed last year? You know? And then, so here's the thing when they say you know, it's justified. Well, who's justifying it? The cops? Right? Look at the video of Jacob Black. This is what all of these protests are now about, right? Because they used to be about Botham Jean, and before that they used to be about Breonna Taylor, and before that after that they used to be about George Floyd, and now they're about Jacob Black. These are all people within the last, 6-7 months who were murdered by police officers, right? All of them unarmed. Okay. So look at the video of Jacob Black, shot in the back. Jacob Black was not murdered. He's alive. Paralyzed, but he's alive. So, okay, maybe we're making some progress, I guess, right? I mean, fuck. Look at what happened, okay? Is he putting anybody in danger? You've seen the video, all right? If you haven't seen it, then go watch it, but please don't try to bullshit me and tell me that it shows shit that, you know what I'm saying? Like, don't try to BS me about that video, because I watched it. All right. The guy is walking away from the cops. The cops are telling him to stop. He opens his car door. The cop shoots him in the back 7 times. One of the cops yells, before he does that, one of the cops yells, he's got a knife. In the video, he does not have a knife. He does not. He is unarmed. He doesn't have a gun, right? There was no knife in the car, right? There was, you know, there was no weapons in the car. If there was a weapon in the car, they would have said that he had a weapon in the car, okay? They would have pulled that out and to justify them shooting him. That's what they would have done. They haven't done that yet, right? So that would have been the first thing that would have gone out here. You know why it would have been the first thing? Because it would have stopped people from rioting. Okay? You notice that. You notice whenever, because occasionally you do see videos of a guy getting blown away and it doesn't turn into a riot. And you go, how come this video does not turn into a riot? It's because the police provide evidence that the person they shot, it was justified. He had a gun. Look at it here. Okay. This video shows that he was fighting with blah blah blah. This video shows that he was reaching for a weapon. This video shows this. Right. They would have pulled that shit out immediately. If there was a gun or a knife in that car, it would have been on the news. We would know about it. We don't know about it. You know why? Because there isn't one. Okay. You know what's going to happen? Guaranteed. This is what's going to happen. When they finally, like, release the results of their investigation, it's going to be some shit like, we thought we saw a knife. Right. Well, let me kind of, you know, if you haven't figured it out yet, they can say whatever the fuck they want. Okay. Hey, by the way, 1911, I want to let you know I'm not ignoring you. I'm going to keep kind of, like, at the end of the stream, I'm going to go through and read the comments and, like, you know, because if I start reading the comments and shit right now, it's going to, like, throw off the stream. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to lose track of where I am and I won't get through the material I have, you know, prepared. So, like, towards the end of the stream, I'm going to, like, go through and, like, read the comments and address stuff. So go ahead, you know, like, go ahead and write the stuff that you want to write. And I'll go through and read them. Probably, like, I'll take, like, the last half hour of the stream and read them. So, just so you know that I am paying attention. But, you know, because I want to make sure that I actually get through the stuff I wrote. You know what I mean? And the stream is actually, like, you know, organized. All right. So, just so you know. But anyway, yeah, so, you know, the thing is, the police can say whatever the hell they want, right? And it'll justify it. That's... You know, they can always say, I felt like I was, you know, in danger. Right. I thought he had a weapon. Okay. He was acting belligerently. Like, you know, they can always just justify it however the fuck they want. And that's what's going to happen here. Oh, the guy thought, you know, but it's like, that's kind of why, if you haven't noticed, like, that's why cops don't like body cameras, you know. And why this actual city did not require body cameras. And I'm getting the feeling that after this, they're going to require body cameras. Right? Because what do body cameras do? They provide evidence. Okay? So, if they had a body camera that showed this guy had a knife, there wouldn't be a riot right now. Okay? People might not like it, and you might still hear people, you know, pissed off that it happened. But people wouldn't be rioting because they'd be like, well, the dude had a knife. All right. And it's shitty, but, you know, don't pull a knife on the cops. Right. That's what would have happened. But, you know, see, that's what people don't get. You know, all the regulations, things like, okay, a fucking, you know, body cameras, that's a regulation. All right. Like, everybody hates rules and regulations and all that other shit. That's what that's there. You know, it's designed to prevent shit like this from happening, right? It means that, you know, because people are not, because you can't, that's the thing. It's like, why do we have that regulation in the first place? Why do we require body cameras in certain states, which I still, for the life of me, cannot understand why we don't require them everywhere nationwide, right? But why do we require them? It's because you can't trust the police. You can't trust them. because they have their own interests, you know, at heart, right? Their interest is, number one interest is to protect themselves when shit like this happens, right? It's not about justice. You know, it should be about justice. It should be about, you know, was the guy doing something illegal? Yes or no? Did the cop act correctly? Yes or no? It should be about that, but it's not about that. It's about, you know, the police protecting the officer from being prosecuted. Number one, right? That's the number one thing that's what police unions are for. Okay? You know, police unions, that's their number one fucking thing, is to like look out for the interest of the officer to make sure that they're never held accountable when they fucking accidentally kill somebody or when they beat somebody too fucking hard and paralyze them or any shit like that, right? That's what that's their job. And it's like, you know, you should be able to trust the cops. You should be able to trust them, right? You should be able to go outside if you have a problem and go up to a cop and be like, hey, I need help. And then trust that they're not going to turn it around and investigate you or tell you to fuck off or like fucking end up blowing you away. You know, that's what happened to Jacob Black, right? See, Jacob Black was breaking up a fight between two women. That's why he was there, okay, in that video. That was his fucking reason for being there in the first place, was breaking up this fight, right? And then when the police arrive, they fucking start, you know, fucking with him. And it's like, he had nothing to do with this, right? Right? You know, because apparently the fight was over somebody's ex-husband or some shit. You know, and I'm not exactly clear. It's not clear if he was the ex-husband and you know, or whatnot, or something like that, right? But basically, you know, he essentially had nothing to do with the reason why the police were called in the first place, you know. But what happened? Cops saw a fucking black man, right? And to them and their training, black man equals danger. So they wanted to arrest him, right? So he tries to, like, I don't know if he was trying to leave. I don't know what. So we haven't gotten a statement from Jacob Black yet, because he's been in the hospital in, like, critical condition. So we don't know his side of the story yet, you know. And that's why he ended up getting shot 7 times. So that's the thing, is that all of these instances, right, you know, Breonna Taylor, Botham Jean, George Floyd, Tamir Rice, right, all of these instances where an unarmed black person is murdered or killed or shot, we never get their side of the story because they're dead. So we don't know, right? You know, Breonna Taylor was in her own apartment, sleeping, right? There was a no-knock raid. Cops bust down her door. She sits up in the middle of the night, because it's like fucking 2 in the morning, right? Hears this noise, sits up, cops shoot her while she's in her fucking bed. Okay, that's what happened to fucking Breonna Taylor, alright? So, you know, that's fucking bullshit. Botham Jean was in his own apartment, too. He was the guy that, if you remember right, this police lady, this woman who was a police officer, comes home, right, and it was like really late at night. It was like 11 or something, right? And for some reason, you know, she lived upstairs from him. For some reason, goes to his apartment, not her own, kicks down his door, and then starts fucking waving her gun at him and kills him dead in his own apartment, right? Then, when they ask her why did she shoot him, she says he wouldn't follow instructions. Well, think about that. Think about if you're in your place. This is your place. You live there. Some fucking crazy white woman kicks down your fucking door, starts screaming at you with a gun in your face. What are you gonna do? Right? You know, I mean, shit, did he try to fight back? Maybe? You know, does he know? Was she in her uniform? Right? I mean, she was on her way home from work, so maybe she was in her uniform, maybe, I don't know, right? What would you do? Some random fucking person kicks down your door and is pointing a gun at you in the middle of the night. Do you run? You know? Maybe he was trying to get his own gun because, you know, because as far as he knew, a fucking crazy person was there, right? Maybe there was some other alternative motive. involved. Maybe she just fucking hated him. Sometimes you have bad relationships with your neighbors, you know. She lived upstairs from him. Maybe he made too much fucking noise in the middle of the night. And whatever, we don't know. We don't know because he's dead. We never got his side of the story. She went to jail, that cop, fortunately for us, unfortunately for her. She actually got, she's one of the few examples in these things where, justice actually was served, right? But, that didn't stop the right-wingers from blaming Botham Jean for that, right? That didn't stop the police department from investigating him, searching his apartment, right? And then, Fox News from crafting the narrative that he had drugs, right? Because apparently he had some weed, in his place, right? And it's like, this guy was the victim, right? Why were they investigating him? He was the fucking victim of this. Why is Fox putting out a hit story on this guy saying that he was a drug addict? Why did they do that? Why? Because they want to justify the shooting. Alright? That's what it is. Even when it's a guy in his own fucking apartment who is clearly the victim, right? That's what they fucking do every single time. Now, if Botham Jean was white, would they have done that? No, they wouldn't. You know why? Because when a white person gets killed by a fucking cop, right, shit hits the fan. Okay? And I know that because this is what happened, right, back in fucking 2017 when a white woman was murdered by a cop, right? The Minneapolis police chief resigns amid controversy over shooting of Australian yoga instructor. Do you remember this? You remember this story? Basically, this lady saw somebody else being sexually assaulted, calls the police, and she ends up getting shot, right? The cop shoots her, kills her, right? The fucking police chief resigned over that, okay? So that's what fucking happens when a white woman, right? When a white person gets blown away by accident. All right. No investigations. And did they investigate that white woman? See if she was on drugs? Right? Did they do that? Did Tucker Carlson do a hit piece on that yoga instructor trying to defend the fucking police in that instance? Did they? No, they didn't. All right. So that's what fucking happens. All right. I mean, shit. That's just like this is why BLM is a thing. This is why BLM exists. All right. Because black people are not treated the same way, right? Even when they're fucking innocent, even when they're the victims, they're not treated the same, okay? I mean, shit, let alone when they're actually the criminals. I mean, when they are guilty of the fucking crime, it's like all hell is like dropped down on them. Does the same thing happen to white people, Remember Brock Turner? Brock Turner, right? This young kid gets caught in the act of raping somebody. That's, I don't know if you know who Brock Turner is. Right. I happen to have a little image here of Brock Turner. This is Brock Turner. Brock Turner raped a girl behind a dumpster, and he was caught by two young men who chased and tackled him. The scene horrified them so much that one man cried as he described what Brock Turner was doing to the unconscious woman. Brock was found guilty and given a 6-month sentence for rape because, according to the judge, he's a really good athlete and a longer sentence might have had a severe impact on him. Brock's dad wants you to stop talking about his son being a rapist because he shouldn't be remembered for getting 20 minutes of action. Brock's swimming times were posted in a story about the rape to show you just how amazing an athlete he is. That's Brock Turner, right? If Brock Turner was black, do you think Brock Turner would have gotten 6 months? Right? Probably not. Okay. Unbelievable. Dylan Roof. Do you remember Dylan Roof? Dylan Roof was the guy that went into a black church in, I think it was Charlotte, actually. I think it was somewhere around there. Went into a church, killed 9 people. Right? Killed 9 black people. right? White supremacist mass shooter. This is Dylan Roof. When the cops arrested Dylan Roof, he was hungry. One of the cops went to fucking Burger King, bought Dylan Roof a goddamn Whopper. Do you think if Dylan Roof was black, they would have gone to Burger King? You know? Or do you think they would have told him to just shut the fuck up and sit there and be hungry? Right. I mean, seriously. So yeah, you know, don't try to tell me that there isn't a disparity about how police treat non-white people in this country. Especially black people. Black people got it the worst, okay? I mean, I can't speak for everybody out there, obviously, right? But you notice, you know, we're not seeing stories of them, you know, like this. I mean, it's like we just see this over and over. It just happens over and over and over, constantly, pretty much every month. I mean, we just get another story of an unarmed black person getting blown away, you know, shot in the back, right? Being treated unfairly, even when they're the fucking victim. You know, Tamir Rice was another one, 12-year-old kid playing with a fucking airsoft gun. Cops roll up, shoot this kid within 2 seconds. And that was the thing I remember you told me about there, 1911. You showed me the video, the enhanced video, right? Where it looks like the kid was, you know, reaching into his waistband, right? Yeah, maybe they were. You know, maybe he was. Okay, maybe he actually, and maybe, I don't know. 2 seconds. Oh shit, I hit the camera there. I mean, remember what happened in that case. You know, because we know that it only took 2 seconds because we have video. Right? We have video that shows that when the police arrive, within 2 seconds they're firing. So, is 2 seconds enough time to really make an assessment of a situation? Right? Maybe these are just super cops, and they have super eyesight, and they are able to determine with their superhuman vision immediately that a kid is reaching into his waistband to pull out a gun. Right? Maybe they were. I don't know. Seems kind of not real, you know, likely to me. Right? Doesn't seem likely to me at all that they were able to make that determination within 2 seconds. I don't know. I'm just saying. Kind of sounds like a load of fucking bullshit. You know, kind of sounds like they rolled up, they saw a kid, they saw somebody who, you know, oh look, he's black, and then just fucking shot him immediately, you know. Because here's the thing, 2 seconds is not enough time to give a warning, right? What is supposed to happen? What is supposed to happen when the police arrive at the scene? All right, I don't know. Right, I'm supposing that they're supposed to assess the situation, you know, have a little bit of that situational awareness going on. Right, they're probably watching when they drive up to see what's happening. Is anyone in danger? Shit like that. And, you know, is the suspect, right, what? Is he armed? Right, is he armed? Is he actively fucking shooting somebody? Is he running away? Right? Seems to me that would take a couple of seconds, right? In order to make those judgments, in order to say, hey, you know, should we fucking murder this kid right here? Should we kill this person? Right? And at the very least, you would think you would say something like, drop the gun, hands up. Right? Shit like that. You know? I mean, I don't know. Is that something they don't do? Do the police not say that? Is that just some shit that just happens in movies and TV shows and fucking, you know, Cops? Remember that TV show, Cops, where people would ride around with cops? Right? Is that how it works? Do they really just not give any warnings? Is that just like fucking normal standard procedure? Cops, so if you're just walking down the street with a gun, cops fucking murder you immediately? Well, you know, how come they didn't murder fucking Rittenhouse? Rittenhouse was walking down the street with a gun. Rittenhouse just shot 2 fucking people. How come they didn't kill him within 2 seconds? Right? I don't know. I mean, I can probably think of one reason, you know, skin color and shit. It just doesn't make any sense to me, right? That people like, and you know, here's the thing that you see online, even though we have this video, getting back to fucking Kyle Rittenhouse, right? We have this video of this guy doing this, okay? So it's not like an argument, you know, it's not like you can say like one way or the other. We have video of him doing it. We know he did it. We can see the circumstances in which he did it, right? And still, people are defending this guy. You know, people are still fucking defending him. Oh, it was self-defense, right? Self-defense. It's unfucking believable. Self-defense. It's like you know what that's like? That's like if I went and broke into somebody's house, right, waving a gun around, and then when they fucking like tried to like, you know, fight me and shit, I shot him in the face and said, hey, it was self-defense. Right? You know, that's what it's like. Okay? If I break into someone's house, because I'm not supposed to be there, right? I'm not supposed to have a gun, right? I'm not supposed to be in their fucking house in the first place doing what I'm doing. So when they try to stop me, you know, they're justified in trying to fucking stop him. That's what I'm, you understand, right? They were justified in trying to stop this kid because he wasn't supposed to be there, because he wasn't a cop. See, there's a reason, you know, like all of these fucking like boogaloo assholes and shit, and militia fucking morons, and all these guys who go out there and say, we're gonna fight, you know, we're gonna defend the city from BLM, blah 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 blah. There's a reason why that type of vigilantism is illegal. Okay. And it's because police officers are the only people who are allowed to do that kind of thing, because they're cops, because that's their job. All right. These guys are not police officers, right? Let's assume for a moment, okay, that Kyle Rittenhouse was actually an adult and was legally allowed to own his weapon, right? Remember that he wasn't, but let's assume that he was. It still would have been illegal for him to do what he did. Okay. Why? Why is that illegal? Why are you not allowed to go out with a gun and stop crimes? Superhero style, right? Why is it illegal for you to go out and pretend to be the fucking Punisher or whatever, or the Red Hood, or, you know, fucking Batman, or right? Whatever. I wasn't going to say Batman because Batman doesn't use guns, but I don't think most people know who the Red Hood is. Red Hood is basically Robin after he gets killed by the Joker and then comes back to life, and now he's like, you know, homicidal, but whatever, you know. Why is that not allowed in real life? Well, the police they're supposed to do investigations. Okay, the police don't just show up. They're not supposed to just show up and fucking murder people. All right, that's why it's so wrong. That's why people get pissed off when that's what happens. Okay, the police are supposed to come and they're supposed to investigate. All right, that means they're supposed to determine if a crime was committed in the first place. All right. It is not up to a private citizen to make that judgment, because they're not cops. They don't have the training. All right. So Kyle Rittenhouse going there, and, you know, he's not authorized to use force to stop people who are not directly threatening him or somebody else. Right? That's against the law. You're not, even if it's property damage, you're not allowed to fucking do that. Okay? That's against, so number one, right off the bat, bam, Kyle Rittenhouse, guilty. All right? That's against the law. Number two, you know, what if the guy he shot didn't do it? All right? That right there, in and of itself, is the reason why vigilantism is illegal. Okay? Because you get the wrong guy. And you hear this all the time when you see people who, like, you know, this is one of those things, like, you'll hear like conservatives and shit say things like, oh well, only only good people with guns can stop bad people with guns, right? No, that's not true. That's not true at all, because the good person with the gun doesn't have the training, right, to be able to make that determination as to whether if a crime or not actually happened. So that's why you see shit like people shooting the wrong guy. Like whenever you do get a vigilante good person with a gun who tries to stop some crime like this, you know, they end up shooting the wrong people, right? Or their shots go wild and potentially could, like, you know, catch innocent people in the crossfire. You know, there was a video, I didn't actually set this aside, but maybe I'll put this in the bottom too, from a few years back, where in Texas, somebody was stealing something from a Home Depot, right? And as this guy's driving away, this woman pulls a gun out of her car and starts shooting at his car as he's driving away, right? What's wrong with that picture? Okay? Why do you not shoot at a car when someone's driving? First off, the guy was shoplifting, all right? Shoplifting is not, you know, it's a crime. It is not a crime that warrants a death sentence, all right? That's another thing you got to remember, right? This dude, that fucking, the first guy that Kyle Rittenhouse shot in the fucking head, right, was, you know, if we're to believe the story, which we don't know if it's true or not, was talking about burning down a building, right? Burning down a car dealership. We don't know if he was actually going to do it, because this is all hearsay, right? We don't know if they were going to do it or not. It's irrelevant. That's the thing, is that it doesn't matter if they were going to do it or not at this point, right? What matters is what fucking happened. You know, what matters is that the guy got shot in the fucking head by a 17-year-old kid who wasn't supposed to fucking be there and wasn't supposed to have a gun. That's what matters, all right? But even if he was, is that a death sentence? You know? Do you get the electric chair for arson like that? For burning down arson? You know? No. No, you don't. You know? You go to prison, you don't get the electric chair for that. So what is supposed to happen is that after the guy does the crime, the police go and arrest him. He's supposed to have a trial, right? Because everybody in this country gets a chance to defend themselves, okay? And then when a jury of his peers says he's guilty, he goes to prison. And if that crime warrants a death sentence, then the jury of his fucking peers will sentence him to fucking death. They'll recommend the death sentence, and then the judge will sentence him to death, right? That's how it's supposed to fucking work, okay? The police are not supposed to be judge, jury, and executioner. That's why people are pissed off, okay? That's why people are mad when these unarmed people get fucking killed by cops, because they're not getting what's owed to them. All right, they're not getting trials. They're supposed to get a trial. You're supposed to get an opportunity with a lawyer to fucking defend, to state your position. What happened? You know, right? What happened from your point of view? And then a jury of your peers, right? People who are just like you. You know, why do they say jury of your peers? Why does it say that, right? The idea is that they're people who are just like you. Okay, they're your peers. They're people that live in your community, right? So you're not being judged by aristocrats. See, that's how it used to be back in the day before the Constitution, right? Back in the fucking 18th century, right? Before the country, like, fucking was founded under the British law, you know, you wouldn't be judged by a jury of your peers. You'd be judged by fucking, you know, lords and shit. Right. People who didn't know you and didn't live in your community and had no idea who you are and had no idea what life was really like and were rich and shit like that, right? You didn't get a jury, you know, trial by, that's why trial by jury is such a precious thing that we have in this country. Okay? Because you're not being condemned by some unnamed council of elders or some shit like that. Or, you know, a fucking, like, you're not being put on trial by a fucking, you know, commission of lords or something, you know, for crimes against the fucking crown, right? You know, like, no, you're being judged by people that could be in your situation right now, if, you know, for one reason or another, right? People, so conceivably, the idea is that there's supposed to be people that know you, right? Which I think we really ought to get back to that, you know. But maybe, you know, people that at the very minimum live in the area that you live in, right? And know what life is like where you live, okay? And this is how they can conceivably judge you, right? This is why trial by jury is such a fucking important thing. You know, when you deny that to somebody, you're denying them basically a fucking basic human right, as far as I'm concerned, right? And that's why people, you know, so if you're ever wondering why Black Lives Matter is where it came from, why it's such a big fucking deal, why people get so mad when, you know, a guy gets strangled to fucking death, right? You know, when easily preventable deaths, like George Floyd, right? Or when someone gets shot in their fucking bed in the middle of the night, like Breonna Taylor, right? If you're ever wondering why people get angry at that, this is part of the reason, all right? So, you know, and this is getting back to why we don't allow vigilantes. It's because it just skirts right past all of that. It skirts right past all of that. It basically turns, you know, especially if it's a vigilante. It's not even a cop. Not even a fucking cop. So it's like no person out there, right, is allowed to be a judge, jury, and executioner over somebody else, right? Oh, you know what? I'm drawing down here, but the camera is like, I'm like drawing below the camera. Let me move this up. Right. I think what I'm going to do here is, I think what we're going to do is I'm going to put some symbols and shit at the bottom so that it looks like demonic writing, and then maybe we'll put some up here, and then that'll make it so when I make the print out of this, it'll look like it's like a summoning spell or something like that, you know, so you could use it for your like Halloween parties or whatnot. Well, I guess we're not having any Halloween parties this year, but you get what I'm saying. Let me get some water. Hold up, folks. Water break. Gotta get. All right. Thankfully, it's not too hot in this room. Usually, it's like it gets really fucking hot in this room when I'm like, you know. Okay. So yeah, let's put a little bit of symbols at the bottom. So yeah, anyway, that's why we don't allow, you know, we don't allow vigilantes, right? You know, because these are things that are guaranteed to you by the Constitution, right? You're supposed to have these things. You're supposed to have, you know, a lawyer. You're supposed to have a trial. You're supposed to be able to present, you know, the state is supposed to be able to have to present evidence that you actually did it, right? You know, you don't just go to jail because they fucking said so. They have to either have evidence you did it, or they have to have a witness that fucking proves that you did it, you know, or like, hopefully more than one witness that says that you did it, you know, and you're supposed to be able to cross-examine those people and to say back, okay, you know, this is why your story is bullshit, right? You know, you're supposed to be able to go through the legal process like this, right? Because that's what makes it legitimate. You know, that's why it's, you know, that's why people accept it, right? When an actual criminal does something and the police show that the guy actually did it and he goes to prison for 20 years or whatnot, that's why, you know, people don't riot when that happens, okay? You know, and that's why you can't trust cops. Why that's why they should have fucking, you know, they should all be forced to by law to have body cameras and stuff like that, because, you know, conceivably that should only make their job easier, right? The only reason a police department doesn't have body cameras is because they want to be able to cover up when their officers don't obey the law. That's the only fucking reason. You know, and you'll hear all the shit they say, oh, it makes our job harder, blah, blah, blah. Fucking excuses. Those are excuses. Bullshit. You know, that's a load of fucking shit. You should have body cameras. You should not be allowed to turn those body cameras off, right? The footage from those cameras should be uploaded automatically to a remote server that no one in the police department has the ability to delete from, right? and it should be made available to everybody, right? Immediately. So when shit like this happens, okay, they can pull that video and they could say he really did have a knife. He really did have a gun. You know, look right here. He's fighting with the cop. What we did was justified, right? Because if they did that, there wouldn't be riots. There wouldn't even be protests, right? There might be protests for other things, right? But there wouldn't be protests for unjustifiable murders, right? Because they'd be able to prove that all of the people who were killed, they'd be able to prove that it was justified. Why is that shit not a law everywhere in the country? It should be. It should be a law everywhere. Why is that not a law? It's unbelievable. So don't listen to don't listen to the fucking excuses, right? Because it's bullshit. The excuses, that's what they are. They're excuses. So anyway. Oh, man. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, it just seems like, folks, it just never ends. It never ends. When is this shit, when are people gonna fucking I don't know. When are we gonna see any kind of improvement at all? Right? Because it just seems like constant, every fucking month, just more, that's why I named this stream, Are We in the Middle of a Civil War? Right? Because we kind of are. We kind of are. I didn't think so at first, because you hear people saying shit like this, right? I'm probably going to ink these little symbols here so they stand out, but I'm not going to ink them right now, but I'm just going to plot them out right now. That's why I named this, Are We in a Civil War? It's because it's not a civil war like last time, where, opposing armies. It's a culture war. It's a culture war which is starting to heat up. We're starting to see stuff like this, and sure enough, it's the fucking right wing that's heating shit up. What's going to happen next time when the Black Lives Matter people show up with weapons? All right. So right now, they're having their protests and shit like that, right? And you're starting to see, militia types and Proud Boys and that kind of thing, right, showing up at these things, and they're starting to fucking kill people. If you remember at the CHOP thing, Seattle's autonomous zone, they called it CHAZ or CHOP. I can't remember exactly what CHOP stands for, but I did a whole live stream on that. The reason why CHOP got shut down is because 4 people were killed, over the course of 2 weeks, right? At least one of those people was shot by a Proud Boy, murdered by a Proud Boy, right? Who got away with it, by the way. One of them was a drive-by. 2 of them were people who then they thought was going to be another drive-by, right? And the Seattle, the protesters shot them because they didn't slow down and shit, and they thought it was going to be another drive-by, which is just another example of why people, people who are not trained, who are not cops, should not have guns, because they shoot the wrong people, right? There you go. See, it's not just all fucking right-wingers and shit, left-wingers are, leftists and stuff who have guns, they're guilty of the same shit, right? So, right. But at least one of those, it was like a drive-by shooting where somebody got killed. And it was because these fucking Proud Boy assholes were walking around harassing people, beating people up, and crap like that. And they ended up fucking killing somebody, right? This thing, if you remember back a few months ago, I even did another live stream about this. What was that guy's name? There was a fucking that dude Garrett Forrester. I did a whole live stream on him. If you remember Garrett Forrester, he was a white guy. He was a white guy at a BLM protest, who had his girlfriend, who was a quadruple amputee, his girlfriend, who was black, right? This guy, Garrett Forrester, was, a white Second Amendment libertarian. Okay. Basically, he was one of the people that the guys who were out there, you know, defending this fucking dude, Kyle Rittenhouse. He was one of them, right? And even him, even one of them, but when it happens to one of them, even they still fucking blame the victim, right? They still went through and said, yeah, this guy Garrett Forrester, it was his fault, blah, 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 it was self-defense, whatever, right? It's like, it's like even when it happens to one of their own, these people still like, it's like they just threw him under the bus immediately, right? Why was that guy even there in the first place? Why was this dude Garrett Forrester at that protest in the first place? Because as a libertarian, you're anti-government. That's kind of how it works. And he doesn't trust police officers. Most libertarians don't, right? You would think if they're ideologically consistent, you would think that libertarians would support Black Lives Matter, right? Because they understand well the dangers of a police state that has too much power. You would think that they would be natural allies. Looks like they're not. Looks like they're only natural allies when it's convenient for the right-winger people. Looks like libertarians are not, they're just as corruptible as everybody else. They're just as capable of being partisan and biased as everybody else. Who would have fucking thunk? Right. So, I don't know, man. It's very, and I think what we're seeing a lot of, right? A lot of this comes from the culture wars, right? And a lot of this has been sort of exasperated by the current political leadership, right? Now, I don't want to blame it all on the current, when I say that, of course, I'm talking about Trump and the fucking RNC and all that. Now, I'm not blaming this all on them because they didn't start this hyper-partisan divide, right? I started seeing this myself when Obama was president, right? And you started seeing, lots of organized hate groups on the internet leeching into mainstream websites, right? That didn't really start happening until Obama became president. So, in the Web 1.0 days, when it was all forum boards and message boards and bulletin boards and like fucking websites with very primitive commenting, right? Way back then, when all of that shit was right, you would see organized racism, but usually everything was highly moderated. So you'd have a forum or a bulletin board, and what would happen is that these fucking Nazis would show up, right, start spreading their bullshit, and then people would just kick them out eventually, right? And it was because, everything was pretty much independent, and nobody liked these assholes. And so you'd kick them out, and so what they would do is that they would spread from one website to another, right? And they would settle on websites that had very poor moderation and kind of take those over, right? So, and I remember this, a lot, because one of my hobbies back then, and still to some extent today, is that I used to go and debate right-wingers a lot on the internet. A lot of different websites I would go to. There was one called Argue with Everybody. That was one I used to frequent. There was one called Scam.com, which I think is still around. Believe it or not, Gaia Online back in the day is pretty much, Gaia Online is pretty much overrun with the alt-right. Which is funny because Gaia Online is like a fucking, at its height. I mean, it's basically like, it started from like a website dedicated to anime, right? And these like alt-right shitload posters kind of took it over, and it's still kind of like that. So if you go on, there's a board on Guy. I haven't been on Guy Online in like 5 years, but once in a while I'll go check in, and see half the shit doesn't even work anymore, right? And you'll see like these, it's basically like these like Gamergate, incel, alt-right shit poster assholes have just basically kind of taken over the entire fucking, it's called extended discussion. They've taken over the entire thing. And, every time I log in to check it out, it's just worse and worse. Right. But that's kind of what would happen. So what would happen is that these guys would migrate around and they get kicked out because people would tell them to fuck off, and then they go somewhere else and they get kicked out of there, blah, 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 blah. Right. Well, nowadays what's going on is that companies, in Web 2.0, it's all social media, right? And you're seeing things like Facebook, right? Reddit, there's another one called Vote, right? All of these different sort of social media sites, and they make a ton of money from these people, right? Because they bring them traffic, that's how Facebook makes money. Facebook makes money through traffic. So you show up on Facebook, they give you targeted advertisements. People pay them for those advertisements, and they can tell by the shit that you post and the things you like and the things you like and stuff like that, and they can see the kind of shit you're into, and then they target those ads to you. That's how Facebook makes their money. All right. That's how pretty much all social media sites make their money, through targeted advertisements. So they're making millions and millions of dollars from the alt-right, from the Nazis, from the shitlords, from racist people, right? From people, and so they don't kick them off. They seriously avoid kicking. There's this big misconception out there that, oh yeah, Facebook and all these other guys, they silence conservative voices. No, they don't. No, they don't. They kick out the worst of the worst. They kick out people when the conservative voice goes too far. And, so it's somebody like Milo Yiannopoulos, right? And they'll find an excuse to get rid of him. Oh, he got kicked off because his followers were, doing an organized troll campaign against, what was her name? Leslie Jones. That's why he got kicked off, right? Alex Jones gets kicked off. Why? Because his followers, he's basically breaking the terms and service, because of Sandy Hook, and his followers keep fucking harassing these Sandy Hook people, right? And they're gonna sue us. That's why he gets kicked off, right? If it was up to them, if there wasn't any negative press over it, these guys would all still be on there. The only reason why any of these people got banned in the first place was because of the negative press, because it got out into the fucking, internet that these people were doing horrible fucking things, and that's why they got banned or whatnot, right? So what happens? What happens? People go on these, on social media, especially Facebook. Facebook is the biggest fucking, the biggest problem with this. And this is where they're getting their news from. They're getting their news from social media, and they just basically it's like one big fucking echo chamber. So they're not, I'm gonna have to do this like that because I don't want to see if I do it like this, I'm gonna put my arm on top of the thing and it'll fuck this up. So maybe I can just kind of, let's just do that. All right, here we go. Because I don't want to smudge this. Okay. So yeah, especially Facebook, so people go on social media and it's just like a massive echo chamber. And when you're in an echo chamber and you're not seeing the other side of the story, you get radicalized. Right. And it happens to left-wing, to leftists as well. Right. In fact, I know it happens to leftists because I've seen it happen. Right. And this is why, I always try to go to different sources when I get my news as much as possible. Right. This is why I, I go to these places on Facebook, right? Things like Liberty Hangout on Facebook. I go and I read that shit. Okay. I read Fox News, right? I go and I check out things like Breitbart, just to to see what they're saying, right? Because you get yourself fucking, if you stay in a bubble, right? Then you basically, if you cut off sources of information from yourself, you're not getting the full story, right? And this is why I know, because then I'll also go to places like, there's one called Democracy Now! With Amy Goodman, right? If you want the actual real liberal media, Democracy Now! Is where it's at. Okay, I'll go to those guys and I'll see the shit they report on, and I'll look at the different facts, and then and you make value judgments in yourself. Which one is telling the truth, right? Which one is basically filling their readers' heads with bullshit, right? Which one is using hateful language, and scaring people with racism, and which side is actually telling something closer to the truth, That's kind of how you have to do it nowadays, right? You have to make sure, if you really want to make sure you're getting a good, well-rounded, view on what's happening out there, you got to go to more than just the mainstream media. You can't just hang out on CNN or Fox News or something and think you're getting the full story, because you're not. You should absorb as much about it. So don't just read one article on something. Read the same article from different media sources, right? One side might... Now, here's what you're going to find when you do that. 90% of it's all the same, all right? Where's the difference lie? The difference lies in what they choose to report, what they choose not to report, how they report it, right? So you'll notice some things like, for example, a conservative website, when they report on a police shooting, will say some shit, or like when they report on, like I remember seeing one where it said, white supremacists have infiltrated the police, right? And then the story is about how a group of cops were found to be members of the fucking Aryan Brotherhood. Now listen to that headline: white supremacists have infiltrated the police, right? Makes it sound like, what's actually happening is that white supremacists are the police. Okay, these guys were actual cops. They were not like infiltrating the police like they're spies. That makes it sound like they're Russian spies or some shit like that. They broke into the police department and fucking like stole a uniform and shit. And they're like, no, they actually joined the police department, went through, got the training, and now are cops. Okay, that's where the bias lies. The bias is in where and how the story gets reported, the language that gets used, right? And then sometimes even facts that get left off, other facts that get included, right? And the more fringe your source is, the wackier it's going to get. So if you go to some place like townhall.com, it's going to be bizarre, wacky bullshit that has no basis in fucking reality, right? And you should know that. You should understand, you should understand that, right? So generally you can discount really weird shit like that. If you go to some place like fucking Natural News, that's another one. That's all gonna be bullshit, right? Townhall.com is completely fucking bullshit. So it's like, but is it worth reading those things? Well, it is worth scanning through it once in a while just to see what they're talking about, because you want to keep abreast of how things, what people are talking about. I mean, especially if you do what I do, if you're interested in understanding what's happening in the country and you want to comment on it, it behooves you to keep up to date, but and here's like my videos here, I make these videos because I try to appeal to people. I'm trying to appeal to people that don't agree with my point of view. I could easily make these just to appeal to other progressives. Because believe it or not, I'm not, my view, I'm considered more of a centrist, right? The things I believe in, right? The stuff I support, because I'm not a communist. I'm not a communist, I'm not a Marxist, I'm not a Leninist, right? I don't believe, I believe in representative democracy. There are people on the left that don't even believe in that shit. That don't believe in voting, they don't believe in elections, right? That kind of thing. It's like, no, man. No, I am very much in support of representational democracy. I want our democracy to be even more pure democracy. I think we can hit the point where we're actually like, a real democracy and not like a republic anymore. I think we should do that. I think we should take that next step, I think I'm going to ink these guys. So right now I'm just going to do kind of like outlines. But maybe I'll put some more over here. But you know what? Let's take a look at what we got. So here's our complete demon thing that we've been working on over the last like 4 streams. Not bad, not bad. Just so you can kind of see the bottom there. Right. So yeah, I think this turned out really well. So what we'll do, let's get that other corner there. Pretty cool. Yeah, what we'll do, so what I'm going to do after this is I'm going to ink these guys so that they stand out. And then I'm going to make a print out of this. And I'm going to go on what I'll do is I'll go on my Etsy shop. And I will give you guys a code in the bottom in the description, in the comments after this video gets processed and goes up and then is available for people to watch. I'll put a code in the comments so that if you want this, you can get it and the code will make it free. So that if you watch my video, and it'll be something like the first 20 people that do it will get this for free. So, something like that. I think I can set it so that it's done a couple of times, right? So yeah, and if you want it, and I'll basically put it, because this is what the prints I make, this is what they look like, after they're done. They look like this, right? So I stain them with coffee and stuff, right? And then I put them in the oven, and so it kind of looks like old leather, So it'll be like that. That's kind of what it'll look like. So yeah, really happy with this. But anyway, so we've been going for an hour and a half. Let me read through some of the comments here, and then I'll speak to some of those before we close it out, because it looks like we got a whole bunch of comments. Let's see. Joe Briggs Jr. Yeah, Joe Briggs Jr. just said a bunch of bullshit. Let's see. Having trouble adopting to abolish police. Joe Briggs Jr. Well, I can answer that one. We have not actually abolished the police yet. There has not been, I think there have been talks about it in, Minneapolis, right? But there really hasn't been any type of movement on that at all anywhere else around the country. Not really. And so I did an entire live stream on what defunding the police actually means. See, first off, Joe, you're wrong. Nobody is saying abolish the police, right? Nobody who's serious is saying abolish the police, okay? Because we understand that's ridiculous and that'll never happen, and that you have to have police. You have to have police in society because people do crime. There's crime out there, right? Bad shit happens out there. So, you got to have some way of preventing and protecting people and property, right? What people are saying is defund the police. So I basically made an entire live stream on that. 2-hour live stream. So if you're interested in my thoughts on defunding the police, please go check that one out. Okay. Alright, what else we got? Light Fox. Will BLM just shot a Trump supporter in D.C.? Really? I don't know. I haven't heard about that yet. I'll have to go look that up. You know, see, there you go. But, you know, when I was talking, like, when I was just saying a low-key civil war, it's like, you know, what's going to happen, right, when protesters, Black Lives Matters protesters, start showing up with weapons, too? They already are. The guy that got shot in the arm at this dude, the Kyle Rittenhouse shot this dude in the arm, who's probably going to lose his arm. That dude had a gun, right? So, you know, what the fuck is happening here? It's like, are they going to start shooting at each other? You know, I'm not in support of that shit either. Okay, you know why? Because they're protesters. They're not cops. They're not supposed to have guns. But I understand it. I understand why BLM would want to be armed, because they have fucking people like this kid coming across state lines and Proud Boys and shit, fucking murdering them, and like dudes driving up in cars and shooting them in the you know what I mean? It's like, this is not the first time this shit has happened. Okay, like, people are starting to get murdered at these protests, you know. So it's like, if you're gonna go out there, it sounds only logical you would bring a gun yourself to defend yourself. Well, this shit's just gonna escalate, right? So, and that's what I mean, you know, what I mean when I say, are we in a civil war? It's like, it's not a civil war between the states and you know, between the states, or against, like, you know, a section of the country against the government. It's like a civil war between fucking liberals and conservatives. That's what it is. It's like a civil war between, like, you know, it's basically the culture war heating up into a fucking actual hot war. And so that's what I'm talking about. It's like, we're in kind of the middle of that, you know. Will it get worse? You know, what's gonna happen, right? Is, you know, is Black Lives Matter gonna show up with everybody with a rifle, and then like a fucking, you know, bunch of Proud Boys gonna show up with guns, and then we're gonna have a massive fucking shootout where like 100 people get killed? Is that gonna happen before this shit stops? Before people fucking take this shit seriously and like do something about it? Right? Like, I hope not. I hope not. I mean, that sounds like something out of a fucking movie. That sounds like some kind of ridiculous shit that you would see in a 90s action movie, you know. But in real life, that could actually fucking happen. I don't know. Moving on. Booyah Abmadan. What a nice looking rendition of a shit emoji. Thank you so much. Laser like pencil precision art. Love it. Thank you. Appreciate it. Glad you like my art. I'll put links in the bottom after the stream to where you can see more of my art online and buy prints. 1911. Guy with the handgun was a felon registered sex offender. He wasn't supposed to have it either. Well, there you go. Yeah, I guess he shouldn't have it either, so why are these people have fucking guns? I mean, if that's true, he shouldn't have had a gun either, then good. Fucking, he should be in prison too. Seriously. Alright. Wisconsin, there is an exception for Kyle to open carry. Possession is handled the same. It depends on state law. So wait. In Wisconsin, this guy Kyle is 17 years old, is allowed to have a rifle? At 17? Is he legally allowed to own a rifle? I guess. I mean, I don't know what the law is. You know, I don't know what the law is in Wisconsin. That doesn't seem right to me. I mean, if that is the law, then that law should be changed, because minors should not be allowed to own guns. Period. You know, if you can't buy a pack of fucking cigarettes, you shouldn't be allowed to own a gun. All right? I mean, period, point blank, stop. Seriously. Like, you know, when you're 17, you can't do shit. Okay? You can't buy a beer. You can't buy a lotto ticket. You can't buy fucking, you know, alcohol. Right? You can't buy porn, even, at 17. Why the fuck are you allowed to own a gun? That doesn't make sense to me. I don't know. If that's the law, then sure, but that sounds like some bullshit that needs to fucking change. What else we got? What else we got? Sorry, if I read through every single one of these 1911, it's going to take like 2 hours, so I'm just going to pull out the cool shit. Kyle was running towards police when the mob attacked him. If Kyle were there solely to kill people, then why bother waiting to be provoked or attacked? So when he was walking to the cops, he already killed somebody. He already shot someone in the head. So this is the first video that's in the bottom, is when he was at the car dealership, shoots a guy in the head, and is walking away on the phone saying, I just killed somebody. And then as he's leaving, people are chasing him because he just shot somebody. So they're trying to stop him from getting away, right? And then that's when the guy hits him with a skateboard, and then he turns around and kills that guy. That guy's dead, by the way. The guy with the skateboard, dead. Shoots him in the chest, kills him. Then he fires into the crowd after that. So I'm getting the feeling this guy Rittenhouse is going to fucking prison. Right. Not supposed to do that. All three of the people he shot weren't locals. They weren't supposed to be there either. They were out of state as well. That argument is moot. Well, they didn't have weapons. Well, that one guy had a weapon. Right. There's no law that says you're not allowed to cross state lines to go, protest. Okay, that's not against the law. All right, maybe the one dude with the handgun that you said, if he actually was a registered sex offender and wasn't supposed to have that gun, maybe not that guy. But all those other people that are there protesting, it's not against the law to go protest. So, and plus they weren't 17-year-olds with fucking rifles. Right? So, the thing is, if Kyle was there to go counter-protest, that's lawful. You can go counter-protest anywhere you want. You're not allowed to go counter-protest with a fucking rifle when you're a fucking minor. Right? So, I'm not saying that he's not allowed to go be a protester someplace, because he's a kid. I'm saying he's not allowed to have a fucking gun because he's a kid. Let's see. Here we go. Isn't it weird that these brutality incidents involve those with prior criminal records, resisting arrest, and or otherwise not following legal orders? Okay, so I think that's in response to when I started listing all the people who were murdered by cops, right? Breonna Taylor, okay, and stuff like that. Well, here's the thing, all right? Even if, say for example, so Breonna Taylor was shot in the middle of the night while she slept in a no-knock raid. Even if she did have a criminal record, that doesn't matter. Okay? It doesn't matter because she was asleep. See, the police are not supposed to kill someone unless they're in danger or that person is endangering somebody else. That is when the police are allowed to, that's when they're supposed to use lethal force. When they're supposed to make that judgment that if I don't stop this guy, he's going to kill me or he's going to kill somebody else. Right. Breonna Taylor was not putting anyone in danger because she was asleep in her bed, sleeping. Okay. She was asleep. Right. She sat up. That's when she got shot. She was not putting anybody in danger. All right. Botham Jean was not putting anyone in danger. Okay. He was in his own apartment, and someone that and here's the thing, we don't know what he thought. We don't know what his justification was. All we have in Botham Jean's instance, he was the guy that was in his apartment where the lady cop came in at fucking 2 a.m. or something, kicked his door down, and then shot him, right? We don't know what his side of the story was. So we don't know if he thought she was a home invasion robber. Maybe. We don't know if he thought she was just some crazy person. We don't know. Maybe, for all we know, they could have been having an affair and he dumped her and then she showed up and blew him away because she was jealous. We don't know what happened in that case, right? What we do know is that if he would have shot, if you shoot someone who breaks into your house, you don't go to prison. Okay? Because that's, the castle doctrine, right? In most states. I think there's some states where that doesn't apply. But in most states, you have the castle doctrine. Someone breaks into your house, right? They're on your property. You think your life is in danger. And you shoot them, you don't go to prison because that's your fucking house. Right? So we know that he was justified in defending himself from this person who, for all all we have is her story, which kept changing, by the way, and that's why she's in prison. So I don't see how that shit works, right? George Floyd strangled to death. Okay, yeah, maybe he tried to wrestle with the cops. Maybe he tried to run away, right? We have video of that entire encounter. So at no point during that altercation with the police were any of those cops in danger. He didn't have a gun, he didn't have a knife, he wasn't punching back any shit like that. And when he died with that dude's fucking knee on his neck, none of those cops were in danger. Okay. It wouldn't, and it, you know, he was handcuffed. He was handcuffed on the ground with a dude's knee on his neck. If that guy just would have, like, let up the pressure a little bit so he could have breathed, none of this shit would have happened. Right? Were any of those cops in danger? No. They were not. They were not in danger. Okay. So, Tamir Rice, that is the only one that quite possibly could be justified a little bit. I personally think it's not. Okay. You showed me that video where it actually showed him reaching down. Me personally, I think that 2 seconds is not enough time to make that determination. Right. But still, were the police in danger? Really? No. They weren't. Okay. So, I don't know. I mean, I still think that one is bullshit. So that's why I'm including it here in this list. But, you know, I'm willing to concede on that one that, okay, maybe the cops thought that, you know, he actually had a real gun or some shit. But still, you know, Jacob Black shot 7 times in the back. Were those cops in danger? Really? Were they really in danger? That video made it look like they weren't in danger, you know? They didn't have a gun. He wasn't armed, right? He was not armed. His children were in the car. His children were in danger from the police firing bullets into the fucking car, you know? I'm pretty sure you're aware of how bullets can ricochet around, you know? And that shit's not good. So yeah, man, I'm sorry. I don't agree with any of that, dude. I'm sorry. I do not agree. You know, what else we got here? Kid was reaching into his waistband. Yeah, I mean, that's a thing, you know. I could conceivably see where the cops might be justified in the Tamir Rice shooting, but I personally still don't think that it's justified. But, you know, there is video of him reaching, so who fucking knows? I mean, just 2 seconds doesn't seem enough time. 2 seconds is like, how the fuck are you gonna make that value judgment in that amount of time? It doesn't make sense to me, right? It seems to me that they already knew, they were already on edge, and were already, you know, in the mindset that they were gonna open fire before that shit happened. So, you know, what else we got here? Okay, let's see. If a suspect has already committed to pulling a firearm or what looks like a firearm, then police approach you, then it is already too late. Yeah. Kyle was carrying properly and not moving for a draw. In order to carry a rifle safely, it would be a sling and pointed in the safe direction, finger off the trigger. This was the reality. Oh, you mean like when he was walking up to the cops with the gun dangling around his neck like that? Yeah. See, that's what's supposed to happen. Is that conceivably you should be able to walk up to a cop with a gun hanging around your neck, with your hands not off it, with your hands in the air. That's conceivably what should happen, right? They should then not shoot you because they're not in danger. What I'm saying is that if Kyle Rittenhouse was black, would they have reacted the same way? Really? I mean, do you really think that if those police officers saw a black guy walking up to him with a gun hanging off his neck, even if his hands were up, do you think they would have just drove on by without stopping, without even looking at him? They didn't, you know, that's the video, okay? We have that proof. That's what happened. They didn't even give him a second glance. They kept going, okay? Are you seriously expect me to believe that if Kyle Rittenhouse was black, they would have just drove on by without even, like, stopping to even I don't know, make sure he wasn't a danger. Do you really think they would have done that? I don't believe that for a nanosecond. I don't know. Okay, I gotta end this pretty soon because it's like 10:30, so let me just pull out a couple of them. What was it? For the record, okay, 1911. For the record, I do own a rifle and AR-15s. I suppose you consider me a bougie boy? No. Anyone can defend property with lethal force. Even people with felonies can still use self-defense. Well, you know, just owning those things doesn't... I don't... I'm not opposed to just owning those things, right? You know, really, that's not what I'm concerned with. Just owning guns, you know, doesn't bother me, right? Because I have a separate video where I broke that out and made it its own thing. But suffice to say, after that, my dad went and bought a shitload of guns, right? And we already had some because he was a cop, so he already had a couple of pistols and stuff like that. After that happened, right, he got a gun locker, and he shotguns, like fucking 2 of them, and like pistols and all of this shit. And he had it all there, and he made sure we all knew the combination, and he took me and my brother out to the range and taught us how to shoot. And we got this big ass fucking guard dog who was insane and would run around in circles and bite everybody but me for some reason. The fucking dog loved me, but everybody else it would bite. So I got to go in the backyard and clean up all the dog shit because the dog wouldn't bite me. Right? All that stuff. You know, so I understand the feeling, you know, where you want to be able to defend yourself. I understand that. And I also understand people who just like guns. They're just into guns, you know. I mean, shit, that's like my family, you know. Not just my dad, my uncles too. They're all into, you know, they're all into firearms, right? You know, and I understand people who are into military stuff, just in general. You know, they like, whether they're into just the look of it, or, you know, it's a family tradition, or they like military history, you know. Whatever. And even people who are survivalists and shit, I understand all of that shit. Just being into that kind of thing doesn't turn you into a fucking crazy person. It's when that's coupled with very extreme racist ideology, you know. That's when shit goes south. That's when you start seeing these crazy prepper people waiting for the end of the fucking world, stocking up on food and guns because they think that, you know, Barack Obama is going to get with with fucking Bill Gates to like put fucking microchips into everybody's necks, right? So that, you know, the mark of the beast will be a real thing, and so then they're gonna stop the government from taking their guns away. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's when the shit gets crazy. Those ridiculous, crazy QAnon people, and you know, the boogie boys. You know, when I said boogie boys, that's a specific hate movement, right? You'll see these guys. They'll dress up. It actually started, I think, in fucking 4chan. I think all this shit comes out of 4chan. You'll see these guys. They dress up in Hawaiian shirts, you know, and they're waiting for basically a race war. That's what that means. So, you know, just because you have armor and some AR-15s and you're into guns as a thing, you know, that just doesn't instantly turn you into one of these people. It's like, it's an ideology, is what I'm trying to say. So, what else we got? How do you leverage the Second Amendment if you can't employ lethal force? How do you use lethal force potentially against the government if you can't leverage lethal force? Well, you're supposed to only use lethal force to defend yourself or others, right? And conceivably your property. Okay, so you can defend your house or your business. You own a business. That's why, like I said, you know, during the LA riots where you had these Korean, like, I remember watching this on TV, you know, there are helicopters zooming in on these Korean store owners who were on the roofs of their, they were on the roofs of their places with fucking guns, you know, basically warning off rioters and looters and shit. You know, that might not be legal. You're not allowed to just shoot people, but, you know, if you own the fucking place, this is your property, no jury's going to convict you for that. Right? Conceivably, your house, too. If your house is in danger, if you're in your house or your land, somebody that you don't allow is on your land and they're going to, you know, burn it down or steal from you and shit like that, and you shoot them, you don't go to prison for that. You go, well, no, I thought my life was in danger, right? You know, it's when you're going out there trying to pretend that you're a fucking Batman or like the Punisher or some shit. You know, that's when it's wrong. You're right. When you're going out there blowing away people for crimes you think they commit, right? that's when the shit isn't allowed. Okay? Because like I said, you know, these people are not cops. They're not doing investigations, and they might shoot the wrong person. You know, their bullet might go fucking wild and hit an innocent bystander, right? They might, you know, get the wrong guy. You know, they're chasing a guy, goes around a corner, they shoot a guy that looks like him. You know, if it's not him, right? And often they're firing at people for crimes which are not crimes that, you know, someone should be put to death for. You know, robbery, arson, right? You know, vandalism, spray painting a wall, smashing a fucking window. You don't get the death penalty for that. You don't get the electric chair for vandalism. All right. So why is it okay if somebody fucking shoots you in the head for it? Seriously, like, what if, you know, this guy that was going to go burn down, like, you know, they claim these guys were going to go burn down a car dealership. What if cops arrested them? What punishment would they get? You know, a couple years in jail for that, right? Would they get the electric chair for that? No. So why is it okay for this kid to fucking kill him for it? You know, seriously. Ah, man. What else you got? If you attempt to take a firearm, then yes, you die. End of story. Yeah, well, no one's gonna fucking, you know. Don't axe again. The kid is a hero. Well, he's a hero if you don't give a shit about the law, right? He's a hero if you don't care about, you know, people, if you don't care about justice. He's a hero, I guess. He's a hero if like, you think, you know, you should be allowed to just fucking murder people, right? That you should be allowed to just blow people away for no reason. Like, if you think that people who are not cops are allowed to go out and just shoot people, like, then yeah, he's a hero. But, you know, in real life, I don't know. That kid deserves everything that's coming to him. He's going to jail for a long time. Don't axe again. The enemies of America, EOA, are burning the town and they must be stopped. Yeah, the real enemies of America are the ones who are murdering people. Okay. I'm just going to say that and end it there. The kid wasn't a vigilante. What the fuck is a vigilante? Yeah, with a Y. Okay. Vigilante with an E at the end, please. Not vigilante with a Y. That makes it sound like he's like a fucking clog dancer or some shit. Like he's doing a shanty, a vigilante. Anyway. Let's see. Okay. I can answer a few more here. What else we got? Libertarians have a distrust of government from 1911. They also have high amounts of order and not chaos. We are not anarchists. We want less government, not a total absence of government. Yeah, and you know what less government also means? Police who are not militarized, you know. Police, I mean, I think you would agree that the cops have a little bit too much power in this country, right? 1911? We call the police for every single fucking problem, you know, and then we get surprised when they end up shooting people. You know, it's kind of like if all you have is a hammer and there's a fly flying around and you start smashing shit up trying to kill the fly with your hammer, and then you see that all your kitchen cabinets and walls and shit are all fucked up after that. It's like, well, why? Because you tried to fucking kill a fly with a hammer. Well, maybe we should get some other tool. You know, that's the only tool the cops have in their arsenal is violence. Well, half of the fucking things they get called out for, violence is not called for. You know, wellness checks, for example. Right? People call the police for wellness checks. What the fuck is a wellness check? Well, it's like, yeah, your grandmother lives by herself. She's 87. She lives in an apartment by herself. No one's heard from her in 2 weeks. You send the cops out there to go check on her and shit because you live in another fucking city. Right? So, why send armed people with guns to go check on your 87-year-old grandmother? Right? How come you can't call some other organization to do that? You know, social workers or some shit to go do a wellness check. You know, another one, another example. Somebody who may be, like, say, mentally ill or physically sick or some way, you know, maybe has an episode in a public place. People call the police. You see that a lot too. You see lots of videos of that kind of thing. A guy that, you know, maybe he's autistic, you know, something like that. Maybe he's got uncontrollable spasms, you know. Maybe he's like, you know, mentally, you know, a little mentally developmentally disabled, you know, and has a little bit of an episode, and, you know, is sort of like got that, you know, right, you know, maybe he's acting a little violent even, and then the store owner calls the cops end up beating the shit out of him. Right. Maybe instead of calling the police in an example like that, they should call, you know, there should be social workers or specialists that get called, a different type of team. Maybe the police shouldn't be handling instances like that. Maybe the cops should only be called when there's actual lethal force that should be involved. You know, a bank gets robbed. You know what I mean? Some shit like that. Maybe that's when you should call the cops. There's a hostage situation. You know, somebody gets murdered. Maybe that's when you should call the cops, you know. You hear two people fighting in the apartment above you, maybe you shouldn't call the cops on that. Maybe there should be some other people that go, you know, who are specialists in this kind of thing, who go to calm people down. And then if shit gets escalated, then you call the cops. Maybe that's how it should work. You know, that's when they say defund the police. That's what they're talking about. Right. That's what they mean. They mean the cops shouldn't be called for every fucking little tiny thing under the sun. That, and also, the police shouldn't be militarized, you know. Police should not have tanks, right? That was something I actually did a whole video on this, so I'm kind of repeating myself here, but, you know, it bears repeating. It bears being repeated, you know. They're like, you know, the military-industrial complex is basically using the police as, you know, they're like new customers. And they're selling them APCs and armored personnel carriers and shit. And what the fuck do the cops need a fucking tank for? What are they gonna do with it? You know, like ram through a fucking wall with it or some shit? Like, maybe they shouldn't have that in the first place. Maybe the cops don't need, you know, all of these fucking weapons and drones and you know, shit that can see through walls. You know, maybe the cops don't need all of that stuff in the first place, right? Because when you have weapons like that, and you're a government agency, you have to justify owning those things. Well, the only way you justify owning them is actually putting them in use. See, if you're a government agency and you're spending money, right, you have to justify your budget. Because if you don't justify your budget gets cut, right? That's one of the problems with how a lot of our cities are run in this country. You know, budgets have to be justified, and that's why budgets keep growing and growing and growing every year. And that's actually one thing that I agree with small government conservatives on, right? That's actually a thing I agree with, that state and local budgets in cities around the country they're designed to grow like that, you know. Whereas in real life, it should be cut according to what the community needs, right? And, you know, nobody likes cutting police budgets because it makes you look like you're soft on crime, right? When in real life, it's like they just get over bloated more and more and more. You know, New York has something like 40,000 police officers. 40,000. Okay, now there's like a lot of people that live in New York City. New York City. Like, let's look at population New York City. It's a lot. Right? You know, so New York City is about 8 million people, right? So yeah, you need a shitload of people, right? But that's kind of the area is not that fucking big. So what do you need 40,000 cops to carry over a certain... I mean, they could probably make do with half of that and still have enough to put a cop on every fucking street corner. You know, I don't know. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, right? Ah, man. Okay. All right, guys. There's yeah, Boogaloo. Sorry, that's what it was. The Boogaloo movement. Sorry, I'm fucking tired in here. There was some shit I wanted to talk about. I wanted to go over this speech that this fucking wacky lady made at the RNC. What was her name? Kimberly fucking Guilforvyle. Made this insane speech, but I think I'll save that for next time, because it's been about 2 hours here. And you know what, guys, I know I didn't get through every comment, but if we just keep going, then this is going to be another 3 hours. There are a ton of comments here, and you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to read through a bunch of them, and I'm thinking we'll just do an episode where it's just me responding to comments. I think we'll do that. You know, because this is, I like this back and forth that we do, you know. And that's part of the reason why I do these videos. I do these videos because I like to appeal to people that don't agree with me. You know, that's specifically why I do this, because I like to appeal to people to try to convince them to see things my way. And, you know, I also do my best to see where they're coming from as well. So, because I really do believe that all of us in the country, we all want the same things. I really believe that. We all want, you know, justice, right? We all want peace. We all want jobs. We all want to just be able to do our fucking thing and live peacefully without any crazy violence and shit like that. Whether your thing involves whatever it is you're into, right? You know, that's ultimately what we all want. And so that's why I don't just make videos only for progressives or leftists or people who agree with me 100%. You know, that's why I talk about shit like this. You know, I talk about the things that, you know, and I try to see things from other people's point of view. That's what I do. But anyway, you get the idea. So, I think I'm gonna have to end this because it is 2 hours. So yeah, I try to keep my streams at around 2 hours. So let me show you a bunch of stuff. Before I go, I gotta do my ending kind of spiel, my ending, you know, social media stuff. So where you can see, if you like me and you want to see more of what I do, this is all the shit that I do. So let me just open up all of my stuff here. My Patreon that nobody's joined, but that's okay. It's cool. Open up my Etsy shop, and then also Instagram. Okay. So here's our sort of ending thing. Thank you guys for sticking around, and if you like what I do, please follow me on Instagram. This is my Instagram, Dirty Kitchen Press. I'm going to put all of this stuff down in a comment down at the bottom, so if you want to bow out now, go for it, and this will be in a comment. So if you like what I do, if you like my artwork, I usually post sketches and things here. You know, you can... It's probably going to make me log in before we see this, but that's okay. But, you know, I post comics and sketches and things and stuff like that. So that's my Instagram. I also have an... let's see. Let's do Patreon first. I have a Patreon. If you want to support the channel, I don't actually have anybody on my Patreon yet, but that's okay. So very, very cheap rates. $1 a month, I will give you a shout out and early access to my videos. If you do $10, I'm probably going to change this to $5, but if you do that, I will make a video on the subject of your choice So if you want me to do a video on, you know, radioactive earthworm target practice, I will make that video for you. And I will draw a black and white piece of artwork for you. This would be an example of a black and white piece of artwork that I will draw for you. Something like that. And if you give me $20 a month, I will give you a free choice. I will give you everything from the other tiers and a free item of your choice from my Etsy store. So speaking of that, this is my Etsy store, right? And if you like what I do and you want to support me and you don't want to join Patreon, you can check out my Etsy store here. I'll put the link in the thing. And I sell prints like that print that I showed earlier today. You know, these are coffee stain. This is my main thing, and you can kind of see they're actually kind of popular. And I think I've actually been selling a lot, like, over the last couple of months. Like, the sales are definitely up, so I'm pretty happy about that. So if you like what I do and you want to, you want to support me, you can buy one of these guys. Here's, like, this one is probably my most popular right now. This is a Lovecraft character from H.P. Lovecraft. And just, I showed these before, but this is what they look like. They look like this, coffee stained. Each one comes out a little different. I use coffee, and then you put them in the oven, and then it kind of makes it this sort of weird leathery texture. And then there's the sealer I put on there that makes it feel like it's leather. So this is also another Lovecraft character. This particular character you can only get at the H.P. Lovecraft Society. So this one is not on my Etsy store. This is this one is exclusive to the H.P. Lovecraft Society. So it's you can just Google them and they'll have it next week. I'm sending them another shipment. They sell these for $20 each. So anyway, and that's what I'm gonna do with this guy. Once I'm gonna ink these symbols, and then we'll make this into a print also, and it'll be on my Etsy store. And we'll come back to that in a minute. So, also, I have my DeviantArt site. So if you like my artwork and you want to see more, you can go to Hawanja@deviantart.com and you can see my artwork. Here's one that I just did. It's a character. It's a ninja with chainsaws on its arms. Right. So, Chainsaw Ninja, that's one that I just did. Plus, you also see, I have a lot of comics and things, stuff like that I put on there, so etc, fan art, shit like that, right? Let's see what else. I also have a webcomic. This is Hawanja.com, so this is my first webcomic. It's about ninjas and stuff like that, right? People getting their heads chopped off, etc. And I usually update this about once a week, I also have my other comics. This is Dirty Kitchen Comics. So I haven't updated this in a little bit, but I'm going to pretty soon. And this is more of a webcomic kind of thing, where, like, random funny stuff, right? I also have another YouTube channel. This is UCD Videos. This is my other YouTube channel where I do a lot of things like game reviews and game streams and toy reviews and movie reviews, stuff like that. So this is like non-political content, UCD videos on YouTube. So you can kind of see I've been doing a lot of toy reviews recently. And then, I reviewed She-Ra, Princess of Power, and then I did a live stream a little while ago and stuff like that. And so it's kind of like, pop culture, video games and video game systems and toys and that kind of thing. So this is what all of my my other channel is about. So and yeah, so that's pretty much it. So if you like what I do, I will put links to all this stuff in the bottom. And like I said before, also I'm gonna make this into a print, and I will put a coupon code when it's ready, because it's going to take a couple of days, because I have to go get the prints and get them ready. So when it's ready, I will put a coupon code in the description of this video, and then probably my next live stream, because that's probably when it'll be ready. And the first 20 people to get it will get it for free. So I'll do that. as a gift to you guys. So anyway, thank you all so much. I know I didn't get through all your comments. Thanks 1911 for coming. You're really cool. And me and you don't see eye to eye on a lot of things, but thank you for coming and hanging out with us. And then also everybody else, DNA Cats Loves Me, thank you for coming. Mr. C 2019, thank you for coming. And everybody else, who wasn't a jerk, thanks for coming. I will most likely do another live stream probably by Wednesday, but I'll make sure to put the warning there. I'll put the thing up a number of hours ahead, at least a day in advance, so that you guys know that it's coming. So thanks a lot. I gotta go ahead and end this because it's like 11 o'clock and shit, and I'm all tired. So adios, you guys. See you next time.